One of the ways to find success in life is to find those who are already doing what you want to do, who are achieving success as you define it, and model what they're doing. That has worked throughout the centuries, and it still works today. Hi, I'm Terry Brock, and I'm on a quest to help you and others. I love helping people to achieve the success they want in business, in their personal life, as an entrepreneur, and an entrepreneur-minded person. Recently, had an opportunity. I was over in England and got a chance to see someone who is a past client of ours, took one of our courses that we had, and he now has a book out that is doing extraordinarily well. And we've got this book here, The $1 Billion Secret by Rafael Badziag. Rafael went out and interviewed, this has never been done before in history. His book is outstanding right now. He went out and interviewed 21 self-made billionaires, not just millionaires, billionaires with a B. Asked them what they did, how they did. This book is just packed full of great resources. It's very similar to what Napoleon Hill did, going around talking to many people before he wrote his classic work, Think and Grow Rich. This is an updated and up-leveled book on how to do it today. You want to pay attention to this. Get your pen and paper ready to go, or your note-taking device of choice ready to go, as I get a chance to talk with Rafael Badziag, the $1 Billion Secret, and how it can apply to you. Achieving success is something that is doable. We see that many people today are achieving success as never before. There are many, many millionaires created around the world. But you know, even more than being a millionaire is becoming a billionaire. I got to share with you something that I've just seen that has blown me away. It's a new book out. It's called The $1 Billion Secret. You can see the little graphic right there we put together. But this is the book, and it is packed full of interviews, observations on what it takes to be successful, interviewing 21 self-made billionaires around the world in many different countries. I have never seen this done in history. We've had many books that talked about here's a billionaire or here's a couple of billionaires, what they've done. This one packs a lot of them in there. And matter of fact, we've got a treat for you. The author of this, Rafael Badziag, is joining us right now, and he is here from his home there in Germany. Rafael, it is wonderful to have you with us today.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor. Thanks.
You have done a marvelous job with this. I've read your book, read it twice, matter of fact. It's just packed full of all kinds of gems on there. And I want to talk with you about the concepts and the principles that are there that you have in there. Starting with one of the things you make real clear, and you talk about, and even the person that did the foreword for this, Jack Canfield. I love the way he said it. He said that there are no other books available anywhere in the world that provide this kind of information. It is amazing what we're seeing. So I wanted to ask you, tell me the difference between millionaire, which is really good, but also billionaire, the difference about that as you talk about it in the book.
Okay, let's start with the difference in wealth, because I write actually about, difference in psychology, but most people just don't realize how great, how humongous the difference in their wealth is. Let's say you have a hotel, then you are a multimillionaire already, right? But a billionaire that I interviewed in that book, Peter Stordalen, he owns 200 hotels.
Yeah,
right?
up in Norway.
Now you have a factory, then you are really affluent. You are really wealthy. But Canadian billionaire that I interviewed, Frank Stronach, the creator of Magna Automobiles, he owns 400 factories. Then you have a restaurant, or let's say several restaurants, then you are a multimillionaire, right? But two of the billionaires here, one of them, Jack Cohen, has shares in 3,000 restaurants, and the other one, Tony Tan Quaestion, a Filipino billionaire who founded the largest restaurant company in Asia and one of the top 10 restaurants in the world. He owns 4,500 restaurants. And then let's talk the last example, supermarkets. You have a supermarket, then you are wealthy, you are a millionaire. But a Russian self-made billionaire here, by the way, the most respected, internationally respected billionaire, not all Russians are oligarchs, he owns 20,000 supermarkets. This is
That is
just
a lot.
amazing. The scale of that. They open 5 supermarkets each and every day. Can you imagine what you need to open one supermarket? The whole process and so on, and they do it five times every day. But I think the most striking example that I would like to tell you is, I have this friend who, like 2 or 3 years, was bragging to me. I mean, bragging, just telling me he makes like $500,000 a year. So it's pretty, let's say, substantial for most people, right? $500,000 a year, and he's been doing that for several years already. So he's by all means millionaire in net worth, right? But you have to realize you would have needed to be born before Jesus Christ in order to become a billionaire with that business performance, right?
It's amazing how the math works out on that. Yeah, it takes a lot. And the thing I love about what you've done here is you've taken the books, and the only one I can think of that would come the closest in my mind would be Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Absolutely. So Think and Grow Rich is a great example of a great role model for me. But there are some differences, right?
Oh, yeah.
Napoleon Hill, first of all, he had a really great backer, right? Because
Andrew Carnegie did very
Andrew
well.
Carnegie, exactly, because Andrew was the richest guy in the world at that time, and he gave him to Napoleon this mission to interview the most successful people in the States and then to construct this philosophy of success. And Napoleon did it, and he spent like 20 years on talking to these people, working with them, and partly even living with them. And then he published this book, right? And for me, at the beginning, it looked like 20 years. Who has so much time in life, right? But at the end, it took me 6 years to research and to publish this book, right? So it's really by all means not easy. But the other challenge I had is I didn't have a backer, and I had to find my way to these people, to through all these gatekeepers.
Exactly.
And,
Matter of fact, if I can interrupt you here, one of the things I wanted to ask about was how you were able to get through to these billionaires. These are self-made billionaires. They're very busy. And you're just saying, hi, I want to talk to you.
I mean, if you have like 200 companies, right?
Yeah, how did you do that?
You have a lot to do, and it's you certainly don't want to spend time. And they are also, many of them are secluded. Some of the billionaires I have interviewed, they have never given any interview before. Right, and I was able to get to them and to convince them to participate in that project.
Yeah. So how did you do that?
I will tell you in a minute, but I want to tell you the differences between Napoleon Hill and me a little bit, his work and mine. Because first of all, I researched our billionaires of today, and Napoleon Hill was 100 years ago. So I wouldn't say it's outdated, but you just don't know these people. Most of these people he was writing about, and here we have our billionaires that you can't then say it's other times and it was possible 100 years ago, but it's not possible today or whatever. So all these people came from 0 to billions within one lifespan, during other people's lives, when other people just spend their lives on, let's say, common things, on average activities, right? One thing. The other thing is I did it globally. Napoleon Hill did it just in the States, right? So he didn't have the opportunity to compare different cultures, different religions, world regions. I did it on a global scale. So I did the comparison. So I could see things that are really universal in the world. There is a lot of things in Napoleon Hill that is more like the Western way of thinking, the Western, let's say, mentality. But I identify the common denominators of people in every religion, every culture, every industry, every age group. So only the common denominators. What is common to all of them? These 20 principles of billionaire wealth and success, they are universal in every region in the world, and also throughout time, because I had also comparison to the results that Napoleon Hill did. And and also I think I am more like tangible. If you read the book, it's like really tangible psychology. There is nothing about esoteric, about attracting good energy, stuff like that. It's really tangible psychology. Everybody can somehow follow it, right? What I'm
Yeah,
writing about
exactly.
and explain.
So let me ask you again, how did you able to get through to them?
Yeah,
That's an
exactly. So,
amazing feat, amazing accomplishment just to be able to do that. And that's probably one of the success principles you can put in the sequel to this. But how did it happen for you?
yeah, I would probably write a book about that because it was a long journey, and at the end, everybody will tell you, you just got lucky, right? And if you take the probability, it was from the beginning, from the outset, it was plain impossible, right? Because in the world, on average, only 1 in 5 million people is a billionaire. Right, so if you go to the street to meet a billionaire on the street by chance or by accident, it's like winning the main pot in the national lottery. And I needed to interview 20 billionaires. So do you know anybody who won the main pot in the national lottery 20 times? It looked so impossible, and it was, I think, the main reason for me to somehow procrastinate with that, because I really had trouble to take action, to start with that. And because I just, the probabilities were so low that I didn't believe it could be done. And even Jack Canfield, when you read his foreword, he didn't believe it either, right? But then you start doing things, then you find ways to get to these people, to convince them. Of course, it was really difficult at the beginning, and it was really helpful to have Jack Canfield, like something of a credibility of Jack Canfield, who was like supporting this project to get to these people. But generally, what you need to do, and I think it is in every business situation, is to provide value. And you have to realize that you can't buy the time of a billionaire. So if I was getting the questions, how much does it cost to interview a billionaire, right? How much do you pay for that? You can't pay a billionaire. Let's take Bill Gates, right? On average, if you take the growth of his wealth, he makes like 50 million a day, $50 million a day. So his hour costs you $2 million. You would need to pay $4 million for a 2-hour interview. And the interviews I provided, they were at least 2 hours. With some of the people, I spent like several days interviewing them. So you can't give them the money, but maybe you can provide some other value. And you just need to to find out what is the value for them, what's in there for them. Generally, in every interaction, there is this question: what's in there for the other side, right? And if you find that out, you are able to provide that value. Of course, if you are able to provide that value. At the end, it became, of course, easy when you have a list of, let's say, extraordinary personalities. I have to tell here also, there is this global competition for the best entrepreneur in the world. It is called, it is at first held nationally, and the winners of that competition are called Entrepreneur of the Year. So every year, the Ernst & Young, EY, chooses the best entrepreneur in every country. And then once a year, the best entrepreneurs come together to meet in Monaco to choose the best entrepreneur in the world. And then this guy is called the World Entrepreneur of the Year. So they have been doing that for 20 years now. And from these 20 winners, World Entrepreneurs of the Year in different years, only 8 are self-made billionaires. So only 8 qualify for that book. And out of these 8, 5 participated in that project. So for 5 of the best entrepreneurs of the last 20 years, they are in this project, right? So so if you then show, of course, you are, let's say, at the number 18, right? And you show a list of these 18 people, 5 of them are the World Entrepreneurs of the Year, all of them are self-made billionaires, to another billionaire, and then it is just a question of asking him, do you want to be in that community, right, with these people, in one row with these people? And of course, then the answer is yes, right? So it becomes really easy it becomes easier with time. And right now, after the publication of the book, it is even easier. Right now I get asked actually by billionaires to participate in my DEX book, right? So it got really it got much easier now, right? But you have, and I think in every project you have this somehow problem at the beginning to take off, but then if you get a momentum, at some point you just cross the so to say the point of no return, where you just have to to finish it. Because let's say after 10 billionaires, I had already responsibility towards them to make it happen to the end, right? I couldn't just say, I didn't find the other ones, and I have to tell you, I got hundreds and hundreds of rejections. It's the result is of course outstanding or surprising, or you would say exciting, but the way there, it was a journey through many rejections, right? And I failed many times, I failed many times, but at the end I succeeded. And this is how actually you achieve anything great in the in life, right? You have to be able and willing to fail, to fall, and to learn from that, and just not let these obstacles stop you on your way.
Yeah, I think that's the key. And I like what you said. And those of you that are watching this, think about what Rafael just said. He was able to provide value to them. Find ways you can do it. And getting the very first one, the first 2 or 3 can be the most difficult. And then once you get it, hey, you've got that ball rolling down, that snowball rolling down the hill, and it just starts building then on that. But think about ways you can do it. And I think I'm going to go back here to the book here on page 90. You said, some matter of fact, I've been going through this and marking it up and everything. This is just a fabulous book that really has not just some good stories. Oh, they're great, really good stories, but they've got step by step what you need to do to achieve. And I think one of the most important here, when you say business is all about people, but only understanding people is not enough. You should be able to also see things from the other person's perspective and empathize with them. Tell us a little bit more about that, and why that is so important, not only for billionaires, but just for success in life.
In business, I mean, if you build, because I write generally about business, right? Apparently, life or relationships in life, in your personal life, or at least as much important in business. But in business, you have to realize, in order to go to that level of billionaires, you have to build a great and a big organization. And all the companies of self-made billionaires, they have at least thousands of people. Sometimes they have 10,000 or even hundreds of thousands of people. You can't become big in business, or let's say you can't build that wealth just with your own hands. You need a lot of people that you somehow put together and give them direction to go in that one direction. Give them the vision, the mission, and be able to communicate with them in order to achieve something together, right? And this is why it is even more important in business to be a psychologist than to be an MBA graduate. Surprisingly, they are in my book under the self-made billionaires. They are more people who have degree in psychology than they are who have degree in MBA. I don't know if we take the average of every self-made billionaire, if this would be true. Probably, but I haven't researched that. But among my people that I have interviewed, they were more psychologists than MBA graduates. Why? Because it is such an important skill in business. You have to be able to communicate. You have to know what motivates people. You have to know why people want to engage in your causes, in your business, right? And to lead them. This is just a very important skill. And because you can't, you can't motivate people just with money. I mean, maybe there were times where it worked, but in today's world, you know, you can't really motivate people with money, because let's say the level of luxury, of lifestyle, let's say lifestyle, or what the people can use the money for, they don't really differ that much in today's world, right? Everybody has a TV screen, an internet connection, a mobile phone, warm water, and everything. Actually, I mean, if you are employed, you have everything that you can that you need for, like, from these basic, let's say, basic needs, right? Of course, there are differences in quality and so on, but the money doesn't give you that much advantage in your private life anymore nowadays. So you have to find ways to give people more value, I mean, in your organization, than just money. And this is part of the equation of what billionaires excel at, right? They are able to provide people with some vision that is bigger than themselves, and even than the company, and people thrive in that environment, and then people can perform in that environment, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that is most important in business, is the people, knowing what they're like. I like the way you say that they're really more psychologists, real psychologists, not in a certified way, but I'm saying people who study other people. You know, you talk about so much in here that is just really useful. This is a book you don't just read once. I've already read it twice, and I can see going through it again. One of the points you made also is about the importance of being able to make mistakes and stay with it. And I love at the end of each chapter, he puts in a little ideas. Those of you who are reading this, about drifters and what they do, and then what millionaires do, and then what the billionaires do. And this one, you say, for instance, that the drifters don't act because they're afraid of making a mistake. They just sit back, oh, I don't want to do it. The millionaires, though, they act but try to avoid mistakes, and they spend too much time dwelling on their past failures. But the billionaires, now here's the difference, and this is where I want to get your insights and go even more in depth on this, Rafael. The billionaires are willing to fail, accept their failures, learn from them, improve, move on, and never look back. They treat their ideas, and they know that their mistakes are inevitable, to tell their good ideas from the bad ones and to move forward. That is brilliant. Tell us a little bit more about that mindset you saw in the 21 billionaires that you talked to in the book, and how they employed that.
Yeah, let's start with the dwelling on the mistakes you made, right? I mean, people spend so much time about thinking about what they did wrong and so on, instead of looking forward and looking how they can, because you can't change your past, you can change only your present by your future by doing something in your presence, right? So. One of the billionaires, and he's a Canadian guy, a refugee, by the way, from Hungary, Frank Hasenfratz. He's also in auto parts industry, and he told me, if you keep looking forward, if you keep looking back, you will triple going forward, right? Are you? How do you say it? No, not triple.
You would have trouble going forward if you keep
you
looking
will.
back.
Now you will fall going forward, right? So you will. Generally, billionaires have this mindset, right? That they try to achieve things by starting experiments. They start several experiments, and then they see what works and what doesn't work. And they don't expect to be right with the first time, with the first try. And you have to realize, in order to be really successful, you have to, as I said, to fall many times, to fail many times, and you have to just accept that. And you see, let's say, a life and even a business as an obstacle course, right? And you try to achieve things, then you see they don't work, then you improve a little bit, then you try a little bit more, and you know, when you talk to a billionaire, he says, actually, you know, I don't do anything extraordinary. I just experiment every day and see how I can improve, right? And but the compounding effect of that, this is just outstanding. This is amazing. And most people just say, you know, I have my own way of doing that, and it has always been done that way, and I'm afraid of doing something else or different because I may fail, right? And our education system somehow educates us in a way that it punishes mistakes, and it actually should reward your tries, right? So, for example, this is a good example. Tim Draper, who is an American billionaire and venture capital investor, a legendary VC investor in Silicon Valley, and he is in this book. He opened a Draper University when he gives young entrepreneurs this environment where they can fail, and they can, you know, they are rewarded by taking risks and by trying things, and not, but they are not punished for making mistakes, right? And this gives you this attitude, gives you this somehow robustness, a kind of robustness in your life, and also with the compound effect that I told you about, exalts you over, you know, you see a difference in 5 years between an entrepreneur who follows that strategy and another entrepreneur who just you know, who just stagnates in his business, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the key. I think what the United States Marines talk about: improvise, adapt, and overcome. And so when you see those difficulties, right, we just say, okay, we're going to learn from that, and it's not a problem. Boy, we could go on here for hours and hours, but I really want to get into another thing you talked about here over on page, what is it, 169, where you talked about having a rebellious spirit, that many of the billionaires kind of fought against the status quo, and they had that, I'll call it spizzerinctum, my word, spizzerinctum, get out there and to go for it, and they do it. Tell us a little bit about that rebellious spirit that you saw so successfully deployed by those billionaires.
Right. So I think the chapter, I named the chapter "Do Not Conform," right? Because and I described that principle also on these 3 levels of success that you mentioned already. So the drifters, maybe I explain generally who are the 3 levels are generally. So the drifters are the people who just drift aimlessly through the oceans of life, of possibilities, without the goal, and of course without knowing how to get there. So let's say the least successful people in business. Then we have the millionaires that in my book are at least averagely successful people, because it's not a big deal in today's times, and an average apartment is $1 million and more. So that is certainly nothing that you would describe as a business success. And then you have billionaires, the highest level of performance. So in respect to that principle, drifters. What was the principle again? What were we talking about? About not conforming, right?
Yeah, so, not conforming. That rebellious spirit that they have.
Exactly. So the drifters say, you know, the drifters, they just don't know how the rules are, what the rules are. So if in any industry they are like best practices, the way of doing things, and so on. So the drifters, they say, you know, they just don't have a clue. So they can't be really, they can excel at in the industry. Then we have the millionaires who say, you know, I know the rules, and they excel in following these rules. But what billionaires do, they know the rules, but they don't follow them. They know the rules because they want to see a hole in the system that they can, you know, get into and somehow get leverage on, and disrupt the system and take advantage of that hole. right? And that's how they achieve so much. It doesn't mean anything illegal or anything, you know, let's say bad for other people or detrimental for other people. Billionaires, if you read the book, they are really highly, at least the self-made billionaires that I have in my book, highly ethical people. But what it means is there is always a way to do it better in every industry, in every life situation. To do it better, to do it differently, and most people approach every situation with, let's say, biased mindset, or with that, let's say, educated or conditioned mindset that they think it can be done only that way because this is the best practice, or this has been done that way all the time or in the past. And that's why also, and this is something interesting, that immigrants are pretty high percentage of self-made billionaires. And you have actually, and this is completely counterintuitive, as an immigrant in a country, right? Immigrants are always somehow considered as underprivileged and whatever. But as an immigrant in a country, you have actually a much higher probability of becoming a billionaire than a local, native.
Amazing.
And you know, in that book, I have 21 self-made billionaires, and 5 of them are actually immigrants. They didn't build their fortunes in the country they were born in. So this is also this part of the rebellious spirit. You don't accept the role that you were given in your country, in your society, and try to get, so to say, the best out of your position. But if you realize your country is not enough to somehow satisfy your dreams or whatever, you can go to another country and build your wealth or your life in another country and become even more successful. And I can give you maybe an example of of a guy who was born as a Bedouin on a Syrian desert, and he was starving to death, almost to death in his childhood. They were living literally in tents, and he was disowned by his father, driven out of from home. His father slaughtered his brother to death, and his mother died when the guy was 4. And he was raised by his grandmother, who didn't allow him to go to school. And his tribe, because it was a tribal society, just gave him, or wanted to put him into that destiny of being a shepherd. And they even tried to arrange, actually they arranged a marriage for him with another shepherd girl, so he would be like, you know, that destiny would be set for him forever. So they wanted to decide how he should dress, what he should eat, and so on. And this guy started escaping from home to go to school, because he realized, you know, the education is the only way to get out of that situation. And then he went to court to cancel this arranged marriage, because he said, I didn't allow for that any time. And he was able to then, he made several careers. One of them is a career of a writer, became also a famous writer. But one of the careers was he built a great company, the world leader in scaffolding. And this guy owns right now 200 companies in scaffolding, became not only a self-made billionaire, but also the World Entrepreneur of the Year 2015. So the best entrepreneur in the world. So you can defy any circumstance in your life if you really believe in yourself, and you are, let's say, stand fast in what you want to achieve, and you don't allow your society, or let's say the system around you, to impose limitations on you, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the book is a roadmap on how you can achieve the success you want in business, how billionaires have done it, self-made billionaires, and it's a book that I would highly recommend. Rafael, we really appreciate you stopping by. If someone says, hey, I want to find out more about this, I want to get more information, your website, tell us how we can find out about the book and the other resources that you have for that.
Exactly. So generally everything with the $1 billion secret. If you go to the $1 billion secret.com, this is the book website. You will find out everything about the book, and you can get the book. There is also an ebook version, an audio version on Amazon. You will find it on Amazon with my name, Rafael Badziag, or with the title. And I have also a lot of materials on my YouTube channel, 200 videos about that topic, about doing great, impossible things in business and in life. Also, when you type in the $1 billion secret or my name, you will find me.
Very good. Well, Rafael Badziag, you have done a marvelous job. You've given us the tools that we need right here that we can go through and read and do it. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for watching this. Those of you that are joining us here, I'm Terry Brock, and I really appreciate you being here. And I encourage you, get out there and get this. Read the book. I've read it twice already, and I'm probably going to be going back and reading more of it, taking notes. It's not a book you just lightly read. It's a roadmap for your success. Thank you for joining us today. We wish you much success in the future.